Hello and welcome back to Underwhelming Barrage. We are now on episode 8, guys. Can't believe we made it here. We're at second episode post Worlds, which is very exciting. We have our usual trio of CJ, Ian, and Tyler, and joining us this week is Kyle from the Colorado Cantina Crew. Kyle, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. And if my experience watching Around the Horn helps, flattery will get me everywhere. So I'm going to start by saying congratulations on your PQ win there.
Flattery does in fact work, so I'm just gonna go ahead and give you some points. And congrats to yourself as well. You just got second at a PQ in New Mexico, right?
That's right. Tiny PQ, but points count the same. So, we've started our journey on getting into day two.
That's right. You got the whole 35 points, I think it is, for second. So 65 more to go. So before we jump into the topics, I do want to make a couple announcements, just some house cleaning stuff here. So we did say that we would cover the fantasy winners. So I am pleased to announce that the three winners of the fantasy contest are Casero, who had 125 points with his selections of Betten, Ian, George, Mickey, and Mike. Kind of crazy. He had three of the top nine there. So it's no surprise that he won. Second place was Mr. DVD. I'm not sure who exactly that is, but I will definitely be reaching out to you through YouTube or some other means. But he had Ophir, George, Junior, Gee, and Michael Carlock. And then Michael Carlock himself actually got third at 116 points by having,
Woo! Go Michael.
yeah, BN Michael Carlock there. He had Ian, Junior, George, Clueless, and Mickey. So the all BN
Not
teams.
biased.
Yeah, not biased at all. But
He had a little inside information
yeah,
there.
yeah, paid off. He had, of course, Ian got second, George at ninth, Junior, top 16.
17th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Clueless and Mickey, I think, barely missed
Yeah, I think
day
they were both
three.
5-3.
Yeah, so racked up the points there. So congrats to those three. We have just as prizes, like the Darth Revan Deathfield mat. There's a Mando promo. Ian's got a Super Laser Blast promo. We have pins. We have tokens. I have all kinds of stuff laying around. So I will be reaching out to you three and getting your addresses, and we'll be sending
Hey,
out some.
don't forget the
prizes to you
greatest gift of
guys.
our admiration, right?
Oh
Our
yeah.
All of us,
friendship
our
and
friendship.
admiration.
Whew.
Yes. Thanks everyone for playing. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed picking teams. I know that you guys did. Had a ton of comments about it. So here in the future, we'll be doing it again. Probably, arrange it a little differently. But it was great. I had a great time. And
I feel like we should do it for every sector or regional, right? Like that
yeah,
would be. I had so many people coming up to me like day 3, like, "Oh, I have you on my fantasy team. Keep winning." Like it was nice knowing that I wasn't winning just for myself.
yeah. And I had so many teams come up to me and are like, you didn't add us. And I'm like, man, I know. Like, it was kind of thrown together last second. Like, I promise next time it'll be more, put together. Just include everyone and just kind of make it more fun. So,
I
And
know
maybe
Kyle
some
chose
off the
himself,
table.
anyways.
That's right.
yeah,
That's right. You got to believe in yourself, right? I'm not putting myself on a list in the tournament. I'm
I
just
also
winning.
put on myself, and then these bozos here on here didn't put themselves on their list. So I'm the one out here sitting here only having myself on my list, and I'm like,
I
I thought
picked
this was the obvious
myself.
one.
I mean,
I
it,
still,
it
I
didn't
still
work
judge
out.
both of you for doing it, and it's okay.
How is it not the obvious thing? You got to be confident in yourself.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
Ian didn't bet on himself, and he ended up getting second. So maybe that's the key. Is to not
He
pick
also he
yourself.
also didn't win, right? So
That's true. Yeah,
That,
maybe I
that's
needed that
true.
little
Yeah.
confidence boost.
Yeah. So see, I also want to point out that we're getting really close to, I think, around 1,000 subs. I think we're maybe in the 700s right now. So the closer we get to that, I'll do like another giveaway. I think I have some boxes laying around. So if we get to 1,000, we'll do a raffle or a giveaway, or however legally I have to say it, for a
Random
yeah,
raffles.
for a booster box. So that'll be great. So please, if you're liking the content, please sub. It helps the channel, helps us, and keep giving you guys great content. So, other than that, uh, let's just jump right into the topics. So the very first topic is the weekly rewind. This is a kind of a weekly topic that we've been covering the last 2, 3 shows, but we just cover the last weekend's events and kind of give our thoughts on it. I can start with this. I won a PQ, so yay me on the leaderboard. It was a smaller one. There were around 50 people that were registered, but given that it was so close to Galactics and the same weekend as Gen Con, we had a lot of cancellations and ended up around 36 players, I think it was, right around there. Um, but I went 7-0-2, overall with Kylo Data Vault. It was a great event. There wasn't that much, Sabine there, thankfully. No Vader Yellow, so I was able to just kind of like run house on all the Talzins and Hans and all the mid range decks.
That
Uh,
goes good.
yeah, yeah. So Kyle, I'm gonna kick it off to you since you just got second place at one. What are your thoughts on the weekend events? Any surprises there?
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty similar idea meta, right? I wasn't planning on traveling to an event, but I'm in all the discords. I see everybody at Gen Con having a good time. And then it was kind of the same thought process being the first PQ after Galactics. There's probably going to be lower numbers. I bought a plane ticket, flew out to Albuquerque at 5 in the morning, day of. So I hadn't really practiced a different deck. So I stuck with Han Blue because that's what I played at Galactics. I was able to run it to the finals. But it was a similar experience in that the winner was a Pout Blue. So same kind of idea, preying on all these mid-range decks, getting the win. Congratulations to Alex. He was the winner of that tournament. But same thing. No Vaders, not a single one. One Sabine. He kind of went out early. So it was kind of that coming over the top with the kind of soft control, hard control, preying on these mid-range decks. So I'll be interested to see if we kind of have a swing around. See some of this aggressive decks, or see kind of a return of aggro if these results hold. Even if you look at like the Berlin event, some of these other events, it was a lot of soft control data vault type decks getting the wins.
Yeah, a lot of blue green villain. I mean, Iden won, I think, like 2 events over the weekend. There was a Pout Blue, of course, the Kylo Data Vault. So it's kind of surprising to see all that, but I don't hate it. Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there was also at the Gen Con events, there was an Iden Data Vault that won one of the events. There was, I think, 2 Han 2 Blues that won, 2 Kylo Tarkin Towns by my teammates Frank and Crispy. And then I think the last one, I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, hello. This is Frank. He entered my room.
Well, we
Yeah,
can't
messing
see
with the
him
green
that
screen.
clearly anyway.
His second place is the first loser, Dale Earnhardt. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So just peeking at the Gen Con
Sorry, Frank. The
winners list
BN
here.
background, yeah.
That's funny. It's so Han 2 Blue won the first 2. The Premier number 3 was won by Kylo Tarkentown. 4 was Yoda Red. I think that was Evelyn. Number 5 was won by Iden Data Vault, and then 6 was also Kylo Tarkentown.
Right, yeah.
So,
That Yoda was the one that I forgot about.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Blue Red Hero is still really good.
Yeah.
I think that the Blue Red Hero decks, I mean, maybe less so Yoda, but like the Han 2 Blue decks are still prevalent, and they're the ones that are preying on all these aggro decks. Especially once you get the sideboard included. Like, I know I had a couple teammates that ran Vader 4 back at Galactics. They did okay, but like, it's just they saw all the hate in the world, right? Like the bombing runs and the sideboard,
Yeah.
in the Han decks, and even the Kylo Tarkentown decks. Like, we played Grenade Strike as our Vader hate in the sideboard. Um, so I think it's going to be hard for them. And then, I thought post Galactics there was going to be more Sabine because it had a pretty good uh, conversion rate to day 3 compared to like how many people actually played it in day 2. So I'm surprised Sabine didn't go up. I think Sabine Yellow also did like there wasn't many players, but like there was a lot of 5-3 Sabine Yellow players too. So like, I don't know, the win rates for Sabine were better than I had expected, and so I thought maybe there would be a resurgence. But I mean, if there's only one person playing it, like the one that Kyle was at, I don't know how many Sabines were at the one you played at.
Like 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
One. Yep.
So that's a little surprising to me. I would have thought we've seen more. I know the KTOD thread kind of had a resurgence in Sabine Green a bit, with people just trying to, you know, figure out the way to move forward post Galactics. So
Yeah.
to me, it's surprising that all these Data Vault decks and the Palp Blue like was doing well, because I just would have expected more Sabine. But like at the end of the day, those decks are just so good against the Hantu Blue decks, and if they just don't hit their counters, right? Like you're playing matchup roulette, or you're just like hoping to not have them, and
Yeah.
sometimes it
The
works out.
the problem with Sabine right now, not to get too off track, but like you have to change your deck so much to get a good Towson and Han matchup
Yeah.
that you actually end up losing the DV. Like I lost to a Kylo DV at the Galactics because I just didn't have an answer for Chilton because I was off Darksaber and a few other key pieces. Like normally that's very easy, but the
Yeah.
way I had my deck built, it became much more challenging. So like you think, oh, it has all these great DV matchups. It does, but you kind of have to go back to the older iteration, which then you're giving up the Han and the Towson, which maybe that's what you have to do. And some decks did that at Galactics, right? I saw a lot of people on like Chewbacca and Darksaber and like the old school things. They were just like, well, I don't care if you force throw or whatever. I'm just gonna pray you don't have it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the way to do it. But I think that's what you're seeing is it's just very hard to figure out how to counter the meta
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a slow start for Swoop competitive. We're still coming off of Galactics. All of these events have only averaged around 50 players. There's been no like full event like capped, at least up for the Northeast here. And when we get a lot more players, our first event is Hex and Co in New York, and that's still next weekend, so the 16th.
16th.
That's the first one I know, at least up here, that's going to be 100+ players. So I think everyone's still kind of waking up out of the galactic haze that we've all been subjected to. So I will be intrigued to see where we're going. I do want to bring up the one spice deck that my teammates have been loving to see was this Lando Tarkentown, this guy that just apparently only plays this deck and did quite well. I don't think made it to any one of the specific wins for any of these ones, but did like X and 1, like 4 of them. So cool stuff.
Yeah, there was a guy who copied that deck at my PQ. Like he saw it like Friday night, built it Saturday morning or whatever, took it to the PQ, and I know he got like maybe 10th or 11th. He almost made top cut, which is, so maybe that deck's actually decent. I don't know.
I think surprising aggro is going to do good. If everyone's playing this Iden, the Palpatine, you sit across a aggro deck that you have no idea, you're not going to be prepared to what to throw against it. So you'll
So do
definitely
you
add
guys
points
think
to the
that, just looking at all of these results for the first weekend, it was basically half blue-red hero and half blue-green villain. I mean, do you think that kind of trend will continue, or do you think there'll be some other decks that pop up?
I think on a PQ level, you're just going to see people playing what they want to play. Like even I know you, John, you just played your Worlds deck. People are just this like weekend a lot, and Kyle, I think he said the same thing. They're just playing what they had the reps on. And I think even once we get out of that, I know especially like I have a PQ coming up next weekend. I think it's sold out at about 70 people right now. I can tell you what half of them are playing just because they only play one deck. Like that's just who they are, right? And I think that's very true about a lot of locals. So like for the PQ meta, I don't think you're going to see a lot. Like you're going to have that one guy who only plays Iden yellow and he's going to end up getting second or he's going to win one. You're going to get that one person that only plays, some weird variant of Han 1 that somehow sneaks in. Like the reps do matter, especially on the local scene. And it's a Star Wars game. People want to play the hero they like. And so I think the strongest decks, we know what they are. Will people play them? I don't know.
I think there's opportunity certainly for aggro to wedge in. We're talking about aggro kind of being held down, and as these blue-green decks come up, to your point, though, I think it needs to be surprising, right? So like Sabine ECL maybe not being the way because that's a known quantity. I know we've got some players here locally switching to like Poe ECL. It's a very similar deck, but more of a space-oriented strategy, so you can dodge, cheer it, that sort of thing. So I think there's definitely an opening for creativity, especially in the space aggro lane to kind of break through. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. I think Force Throw existing still kind of keeps a lot of those weird, quirky decks at bay, but, as long as that's sticks around, I don't think there's like too much room for craziness.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing that stinks, right? Like you want to play a space aggro and you're like, oh, it's got to be good, and then it's like, Well, Han Blue actually can just race you and it heals a million and has force throw. Oh, and Talzin just actually murders your entire board while pressuring. Like you think, oh, space is the way. It's like, yeah, you dodge Chert, but you really don't have a very good matchup. Like even with that. And then the bombing runs come in and all the other nonsense that it wasn't even there for your deck. But it's like, oh, I'm playing Poe and all my ships have 3 health.
Yeah,
Okay.
just like collateral
Like,
damage there.
right.
Yeah.
It's less the situation right now as it is and how the meta's shaped up. Like, yeah, you can sneak in wins, but that's always been true. And I do think it's much more local based. The hard control makes a little bit more sense to me because that is a hard counter to like a lot of the meta. And so, like, if you are a good player at that and you know what you're doing and you hit those matchups, like, you're good to go. Whereas aggro still can just lose to the collateral stuff right now, which stinks because I'm an aggro player, but it feels bad.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like what I was worried post Galactics, especially playing Kylo Tarkintown, like another PQ, was aggro decks that would sideboard Parliamentarian. But if like these aggro decks aren't around, like I'm way more comfortable playing into like Data Vault decks that run Parliamentarian than I am Sabine or Quinlan or even Cad Bane or Talzin running it. Like
What about like Han2 Green and the Kellerin on 6 to get the Parliamentarian?
dude, I think Hantu Green is actually our best matchup. Like in
You think it's your
testing,
best matchup?
they don't have a way to kill Kylo. Like, if you just present like a 14-14 Kylo, like they can't even like timely a Mason. That's 10 damage. So like they have to have a board plus a Yoda that they timely in, and like at that point, how many resources do they have, and like how much damage did you already do? Like like in our testing, that was one of our freest matchups, and
Yeah.
I actually beat Hantu Green in my first round at Galactics, and he had Parliamentarians in his sideboard, and
Nice.
he played it against me, and I just naked flipped Kylo and just smacked him for 5 because I had like a Lone Pike and an Anakin out, and at that point, like the game was over. It didn't matter. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that was kind of funny for me playing Kylo Data Vault at the PQ. I had 2 different opponents, actually no, 3 opponents play the parliamentarian on me,
Yeah,
and
it
one
doesn't affect your deck at
no
all.
no one guy played all 3 in one game, and I'm just like, all right, Maul, it's like
Yeah.
take 5,
Yeah,
like, and then
The
like
only thing that would again, I think it's the same thing with the Tarkentown one. If they were also pressuring, you probably just effed, right? If you're playing
maybe,
Sabine,
yeah, right,
what do you mean maybe? You
yeah,
go to
yeah,
R7
yeah,
against
Sabine,
Sabine and
yes,
they
like,
parliamentarian you?
right.
What do you do?
Absolutely, yeah.
You
I
just
mean,
go
I
home.
can't stop that. But these
Yeah.
mid range
Oh,
decks like
mid-range, yeah.
Han or whatever, they play parliamentarian. I'm like, I don't care. Like my
Yeah, they're
Kylo is
mid-range.
here to be a meat shield, and I literally don't care what happens to him after that.
At that point, I guess they're just trying to clean up your ability to activate Anakin, right?
Yes, and that's the biggest thing too is shutting off Anakin kind of really neuters the deck. So we'll see. So moving into the next topic is about limited. So I think the first limited PQ is not this weekend. I think it's next weekend in Chicago, or it might even be the 23rd uh, in Chicago. This has been a hot topic on all of the discords that I'm in. The K2D Discord all day was just talking about different lines, ranking leaders, cards, things like that. What do you guys think about limited? I know Ian's been really pumped about Ian or like draft and sealed. I'm also a big fan of draft and sealed. Uh, Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I love limited in pretty much every game. Sealed less so than draft, but it's still fun for me. I think this game generally is pretty good compared to some other games. I mean, for me, Magic's like the best game to draft, but it's also been 30 years of them having designed the game for draft and limited in general. Um, I'm hoping that going forward, their draft sets are gonna or their sets are gonna be better to draft and play sealed with. Because it definitely is very leader dependent for me in this game. Like I know we always talk about like Anakin from set 3. Like it was like if you had Anakin, you could play the game, and if you didn't have Anakin, you just lost. Um, and so I hope that like I don't think that that is that bad in this set specifically, which is good. Going forward, I hope they continue that trend where there isn't just one common leader or something that's just like so far above the others. Um, but in general, I find it really fun. I think, especially with draft, knowing, I mean, there's not seeded packs in terms of Like there's always going to be 2 green cards, 2 blue cards, 2 yellow cards, 2 red cards or whatever, which I would almost prefer to like have a better ratio to know so that you can read signals better. I think people who can figure out from like what's left in a pack, what colors probably were taken from the people next to them, like you're gonna get a lot of points, because I think one of the hardest things in this in this game in drafting is being able to read those signals. Like at obviously pre-release is, or like drafts at like your locals are only going to be so competitive, but I found that a lot of times there'll be people next to each other who are like both playing blue green villain or something, right? And like that shouldn't happen at a competitive draft table, right? Like the only other person who's playing that color combo should be like the person who's directly opposite of you if everybody is drafting what they're supposed to draft.
Yeah.
That's obviously more advanced than like what a casual person going to a pre-release to like draft to build their collection would be thinking about, especially if they're there just like rare draft and stuff. But these are the type of things that I think people are going to need to be able to learn in order to be successful, especially like, oh, it's great, you had a busted sealed pool and now you made top 8. Like now what do you do when you have to draft, right?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, of course, Anakin. I mean, that was like the set 3 most busted leader. And then set 2 also had Ray and Cad Bane, which were obviously just insane. Um, so looking
Cad
at
Bane was nuts. I
yeah,
remember
Yeah.
that.
so looking at set 5, what do you think the best leaders are for limited play? I mean, do you think it's like Kit Fisto, like way above everything else, like people seem to think, or do you think
I,
things like Snoke or whatever?
Well, here's the thing with that. You have to make a decision. At least this is my read on it, and I've drafted a few times now. You pretty much, when you open your leaders and you look at what everyone else opened for leaders and you're thinking about what to do, like a big piece of that is thinking, okay, am I the force deck? Like, do I have to be the force deck in these colors, or can I be the non-force deck? Right. Like, I think of like some of the most powerful drafts I had. I know we did one, John. It's like Snoke was just absolutely busted because everyone had to take all the force people, and I could just take all the really well-statted units and still make a really cohesive deck out of it. And I wasn't fighting for those integral pieces, right? Like, if everyone's on the force, they're going to be looking for very specific 2-drops and some very specific enablers that you don't need, right? If you're doing one of the decks that doesn't have to leverage it. And so I think it does matter depending on that. Obviously, Obi-Wan is a really good leader in this set, I think. And I think Snoke's really powerful. I think it's pretty well balanced, to be honest. But it does, if everyone's drafting force synergies all in the one draft pod and no one's made that shift, it can get a little tight.
Yeah, I think that this is the best set that we've had for limited play overall. So I'm glad they're starting like the whole limited comp scene now, as opposed to like a set 2 or 3 when there was just 1 or 2 leaders that were.
Or even set 1 with so many bombs.
Yeah,
Set 1
yeah.
was wild.
From what I know too, this was the first set that they actually had the people that they hired directly to help build the draft formats and the limited formats. So like I think we're seeing it shine in this format more than some of the others because of that. So that's a good sign to me for moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, at least in my area, I'm looking for a limited revival. You know, in set 1, it was a product issue, right? If you went to a limited event, it was huge just because it was the only way to get product, right? But even through set 2, it was still alive and well. I could show up on Saturday and there'd be enough people to fire, maybe even a couple pods, right? Now, if I show up to a limited event, we're not firing. It just doesn't happen outside of the release weekend, right? So I'm hoping this breathes some life into just, you know, our weekly, hey, let's get a draft going. I know on my team, you know, I enjoy limited the most. The other guys on my team are kind of out on it. This is going to force everybody to kind of want to do it, practice it. In fact, buy packs, buy boxes. I know, at least for myself, like, you know, when I go to an event now, I'm just not going to open the packs. I'm going to save those so I can draft with my team, so I can draft with my friends, get those reps in, right? Really get a lot of practice, redraft, that sort of thing. So I'm just excited to, you know, get to do it a lot more. Just because it's something that's kind of died in our community. So I'm glad that they're going to breathe some life into the limited kind of environment locally.
Yeah, I agree. Tyler,
I do
what you
think. Oh yeah, Tyler, you can go.
I am a devil's advocate on this issue. I love Magic the Gathering draft. I love it. I do it so much. I love Cube. I love it all. I struggle with limited in this game so much. I have so many small niche issues with it every time. Some of them have been just unfortunate bad situations. I had set 2 a draft go where 2 players on the left side of me had no idea how the game worked and drafted every single color I could have possibly played when they were not playing either of the heroism aspects. I still 3-0'd that because they were bad, but that's another issue another time. But I've done a couple drafts of the recent set, and it really is the kind of, I think the 50-50 gotcha. It's either, well, I have Obi-Wan and I have Talzin. If I draft Force and I get the cards, I think my deck's amazing. If I go Force and then have nothing, my deck does nothing. So then you gotta sit there and be like, all right, do I just not do the Force? Do I do the Force? And then, maybe you can have the Force, but you have 3 other people around you that all decide to just do Force because that's the thing. And it just doesn't feel like there's enough cards. It really, truly, my biggest issue with this limited format, or the game in general, is that every time I've played limited, it feels like I'm drafting cards, and every time I draft a card that is I can't play, I feel like it's a dead card. You have probably 6 of those drafts, pure entire draft. There's too few cards to actually draft to build your deck. And if you get unlucky and your colors that you've decided on, pack 3 come up, you will be playing like 10 cards off aspect, and it feels miserable. My hot take has always been, I wish we had more packs. I wish it wasn't following the Magic style of 3 packs and 6 packs. I wish there were more in the draft. I wish you had access to more, so you could at least have better options and won't be completely destroyed if the entire table's drafting your colors.
I mean,
it's exciting when you get to take advantage of some of these out of aspect cards, right? I mean, get to throw them in there, take them from your opponents, work them in, that sort of thing. I mean, I think that's part of the fun.
Well, I think the issue with that, Kyle, and I think what Tyler is saying is like in Magic, that's actually a skill expression. So like there's drafting actual fixers and different ways to build those into your deck. And that's like an actual true skill expression within that format, as well as switching, like and being able to turn on a dime, be like, hey, I actually need to I'm noticing trends, I need to switch. You don't have that option really in this game, right? Like to Tyler's point, if you are the Force deck, you need to be grabbing Force. You can't just all of a sudden go, oh, I'm actually going to take that 4/1 creature here because like I'm going to make a pivot here. Like you have less of that flexibility.
It's add on to the issue is like, this and Magic packs, I think are both like 15 cards, if I'm correct. We go through like 3 packs. That's, 45 cards total. Right. Yeah. You have Magic, you need 23 playables. This game, you need 30 playables. It's shrinking the amount of actual, or is more? It's 40 playables, right?
No, it's 30.
30.
Okay, 30.
Yeah.
I haven't
But
played
at the
recently,
same
but-
time, though,
Yeah,
Tyler,
you're not
it's not-
drafting lands though, so yeah.
Yeah, you don't actually,
you-
but you don't actually need 30 playables because then you can just have them as resources, right? Like, obviously, it's good to have like 30 cards in your colors and stuff, but like just draft more cards like Shatterpoint out of aspect, man. Like, it's fine. That card for 6 is fine in like every single deck because the game isn't over at the 6 resource turn.
Yeah,
Like-
things like hating the Kiadi Mundi just because it's fine for 6 most of the time and like your Force
Yeah.
deck. Like
And
things
if you
like
just
that.
have to resource it whenever you draw, it's fine. You draw 2 cards a turn. If you draw in your opening hand, you just put it down as a resource. It's like you just drafted a land. Like it's fine.
I agree. It just feels so much constrictor, and there's a lot less wiggle room and at least play with drafting. If I feel there's too much. Who knows? I could probably just be a terrible drafter at this game. I will take that fact. Every time it just feels like, all right, see my leader, see the board. I get my first card, whatever. Like I did, we had a great event in Newark, which was like. It was like 20 player pre-release, like did a whole sealed, and then we did cut the top 8 draft. All right, I cut top 8 draft. I got Obi-Wan, that was going to be the one I was going to be playing. I had 2 others I can't remember. And then the people around me were like all doing Talzin. So Heroism was open, great. My pick ones were all like 2-cost cards, like 2-cost commons. And I took like every single Heroism and thing that I could. I had, open field. And my deck just didn't have enough 2-cost Force units. I took every single one I could have. Anything. I was the open person around me, still could not find them.
I think that's more of a problem with Obi-Wan though than it is with like
It could just
the
be a Force
way
play.
you constructed your deck, right? Like Obi-Wan specifically wants you to snowball starting on the like second turn of the
Maybe.
game because like and that's just not going to be possible unless you drafted blue-green hero, right? Because the vast majority of the 2-drop force units are in blue. So
Yeah, I went blue green.
okay,
that's
yeah, I mean, yeah, then you just got unlucky. But like, if you had just played any other like if that was Ahsoka and you were blue-green Ahsoka, you would have been fine because you didn't need the force on turn 2 to like have your deck do its thing. So that's like a function I think of the leader than it is of like the way that your draft turned out, and that's like the gamble that you run when you draft Obi.
Well, perhaps that's part of being put into the narrow band from the beginning, right? You're only going to get 3 leaders. One of them is probably going to be unplayable, and you get past it at the end, right? So you're already restricted from the onset to kind of a lane that you're forced into, maybe 2 options, but from there, I guess you kind of got to work your way out of it. But you could certainly get stuck. I've definitely been there, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, if you get stuck with like Revan, Anakin, and like Barriss Offee, like you're gonna have a bad time, 100%. But like that should only happen like 5% of the time, if less than that.
Yeah, not even.
I think also one of the problems you had, Tyler, was that because you were also in blue and you said there was people playing Talzin around you, they probably took all of the 2-drop blue units that have the force tag because they also were doing that, right? So
one thing that we didn't really talk about that I think is important when we look at this, I do think having the draft format in the competitive events is going to help with the actual sale of the product for the competitive player base, right? I do think that is going to help. One thing I am concerned about, though, is I don't think this is actually going to lead to more local drafting.
I agree.
And from my experience,
top 8.
Right. Well, not only that, but from my experience from other games, I'm sure we see this. Like the competitive drafters did not really go to locals to draft, right? You're not going to get a competitive draft experience there. And if you already didn't have the casual drafters at your store, this is not going to create those. Most of the drafters in most other games do it online. They do it in a very a grindy fashion. Like they even pay for it on some different platforms, but they seek out the best competition because it is the actual reps in it are so important and contingent on everyone's skill level. Because if people are not the same skill level, it's almost worse than Premier. Because like if you go in a draft where people don't know what they're doing, it really, really skews the results.
Yeah, this is where not having an online client kind of works against them. Is where games like Magic and there are other games as well that have clients that have limited play. You can't just log in and queue up a draft with 7 players. Like my locals is like 16 to 20 players weekly. And when we have a draft, we're lucky to get 6. And like we'll fire with 6, but like it's just not the same, obviously. And unless the limited sector that they loosely announced, if it's not close to where I am, it's not going to really increase like local drafts. I wish it would, but I don't think it's going to. So
that's interesting because our team's already talking about, hey, we're going to head down to local drafts, fire. Although we might do it outside of a scheduled event, right? Like, hey, we're going to plan on doing limited practice today. We're going to show up to a store. We're going to buy a box. We're going to sit down and run it ourselves, right? We'll just get a pod going, run it, do it again, run it back, that sort of thing. So I would hope at the very least it's going to help there. But to your point, Chrono, at least selling product. I'm going to be buying regular boxes I wouldn't have bought before just for this purpose, right? So, I suppose that's a win.
Our team itself is looking forward to it. Like we were trying to do an 8-man team draft like last night or Monday night. It just didn't really pan out exactly. But, it's just locally, it's mostly casual players. So it's like they don't really care. But I think all the teams and all the people who go to the sectors, like they'll be looking to draft. So maybe that'll, push draft in that capacity. So we'll see how it pans out. So just moving on real quick, we got the third topic here, which is where we're going to review our picks for a suspended list. I know last month prior to Worlds, we were saying that we kind of thought maybe Force Throw, maybe Yes or No should have been banned. Here we are post Worlds. Has that opinion changed? Is it the same? Do you think it'll be banned? Do you think other cards will be banned? Tyler, start with you this time. What do you think?
It's a rough start with me. I enjoyed the meta. I liked Galactics. I liked all the things. I like Force Throw. I like playing against Force Throw. It's a strong card. It definitely warps games. It's strong. I like playing with strong cards. Whether it's going to be good for the meta or not, I don't know. I've been fine in playing the broken stuff the entire time. I will be fine playing the broken stuff for many days to come. I like seeing all of this random, decks and stuff that people are still playing. I do not think we've settled into the meta. I still think that, Han 2 and Force Throw in general is not it's still the best deck, but it's not, this will win majority of the time. It's not the Django, it's not the Boba. And I think that people will still find random stuff to counter it. I think people will still just have piles that'll work. Of course, they play against, their bad decks, and they're going to lose. We can probably see a lot more of rock, paper, scissors kind of go, where you have best deck is going to beat up on all the randoms. You have, the randoms bringing, their stuff to beat up on best deck. And then you have the people that are there to beat up on all the randoms. And it's kind of, this creates this little triangle effect, and I can see not much happening in the future.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to ban or not, whether they're going to ban or not, I don't know. I liked, when hearing on like the K2D podcast before Worlds, Justin, I believe, said from someone else was like, FFG love this meta. It's the heroism, the light side versus dark side. It's Luke Skywalker facing off against Darth Vader. I don't think there's a reason for them to currently do anything yet. It's just people complaining, as they have always been, about Force Throw and anything else. I don't see anything going to be changing. If they didn't want to change it right after Worlds and we get Galactics and we've already have these events come up, I don't see anything changing anytime future.
CJ, what do you think?
I think that's a wild take, Tyler. I don't know how you like. I agree. Force Throw is a powerful card. You can play around it. Try playing around more than one. It's impossible. And you can say I could do it. You can't. You just, a lot of games you just end up losing in this meta. And when every deck, and I'll tell you, I've been testing a lot against Ian, your guys' deck. Tell me, how many games do you lose when you go turn 1 MIGs into Secretive Sage Force Throw?
I don't think I lost a single one when I did that at Galactics.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, good. You want to know why? Is because I don't think almost any deck can actually win from that board state.
Yep.
I'm going to be completely honest.
That was one of the big draws of the deck.
Yep. And guess what empowers that?
Force Throw.
Force Throw. And your deck, honestly, if you look at that deck, it looks like the most big pile of garbage cards I could think of. And it's I think it's excellent deck building. But what I mean by that is like, oh, Force Throw is so good. We're not a force-based deck, but let's play a 1/3 hidden. Let's play a 2/2 blue shielded unit with no other text. Let's play a 2/4 that needs the force to do something, but we don't care. And why are you doing that? Oh, Force Throw. Okay. And you look at the decks that are in the meta right now, Talzin and Han, at a core, what they're doing is a lot of fun things, I think. But what is not fun is that back and forth you have to play with Force Throw. It just isn't fun. It's not a fun game for anyone to play. Because, yeah, you can say I can play around it, but you can't play around them throwing a crate to kill your leader. You can't play around them throwing you for one and then drawing the second one and doing it again. Now you have no hand, and it doesn't matter what you had to discard because you're at a huge disadvantage. And a lot of the smuggle cards are either equipment or a Cassian unit that comes out on 5 or whatever. There is no gap fillers early on. And so there's all these little issues this card creates, and I don't think it's a very fun play experience.
Yeah, you mentioned fun, and just to interject here real quick, and I'm glad that Tyler had the total opposite view here, because that kind of makes this conversation good. But so I obviously am no dev, but I talked to some game devs at Worlds, and they all kind of had the same point, and not game devs for Star Wars necessarily, just of any game. And they said that cards like Force Throw, even though they're very, very good, cards don't have to be broken to be banned. What it does is you have to look at play patterns, right? So the play patterns that Force Throw can create. So you want your game to be fun even when you lose, right? And it's not fun when you get Force Thrown multiple times, and it's not fun when you're building up to this giant flip turn with your whatever deck, like at locals, whatever. You flip your leader and he just gets killed for one resource. Like those games aren't fun. So you kind of want to curb those kind of decks or those cards from existing, because they just create like really big negative play experiences. And I think that that's why Force Throw should be banned. Not because it's a very good card, because good cards are allowed to exist, just because that they're not fun to play against. But sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah, this may be to my detriment as seeing as Tyler's still looking for his first win, but I'm going to join you. I have the same opinion. I don't have a problem with force throw, and I don't think that the data supports a ban, right? If you look at, there's a limited amount of data. We haven't had a lot of time, but if you look at like even the events this past weekend in West Virginia, there were 8 different leaders in the top 8. Only half of them had force throw. If you look at the Berlin event with 56 people, 8 different leaders, only 2 of them had force throw. The decks that are winning these events, as we just talked about, Blue Green Villain, Palp, no force throw, right? So I'm not as worried about it. I would even take it a step farther. If I was going to make a change, I'd look at unsuspending cards, right? I didn't have a problem with TDR. I'd like TDR to bring some of these other decks that can combat the current meta up to the top, make them more viable, allow that quote broken card to allow for other ways to kind of combat the meta. I'd bring back DJ too. I might fix the Han interaction, but outside of the Han interaction, I would allow it. So I like doing the broken thing. I agree with Tyler. I don't think the data supports taking it away. If we're talking about negative player experiences, my most negative play experience is hard control. I don't want to get milled. I don't want to sit here and have you kill my stuff every turn. I feel like if we get rid of force throw, we're just asking for like a more of a control meta, and I don't want any part of it.
I just saw CJ's eyes just like light up like a deer in headlights, like every
I
time you
thought-
mention.
If you ban force throw, I promise you, I'm back on aggro and control will not win another event in the rest of the game. But like,
Hashtag ban vigilance. Ban vigilance.
yeah, ban
I'll go
overwhelming
with that.
barrage. But I think realistically, like I know what you're saying on the data, but the only data we need is worlds. Those are the best of the best players playing the best spec deck. No one went to worlds and said, "Oh, I'm going to play." I think Benton was like, "I love Talzin. She's my favorite character. I better play her at worlds." I don't think Ian was like, "Man, I love Kylo. Like he's the actor's great. I better play him at worlds." Like realistically,
He's
they
so
said.
sexy. I couldn't
Realistically,
help
they all
myself.
built a deck that said, "Hey, what's the best card? Oh, it's force throw. I'm going to find a way to put it in there."
Ian, what do you think?
I mean, CJ is definitely right. We played the deck because we thought it was not only the best force throw deck, but we also thought it was the best deck to play into force throw. We had 21 drops in our deck, and most of our opponents, I guess we had open deck lists, so they knew what was in our deck. But like going into it, what our plan was, they don't know what they're gonna do. Like they don't know what we have. All we have is all these like 2-drop units until we get to Anakin and like maybe a lone pike on 5 from Smuggle, right? So like they don't force throw themselves. They're always just gonna target us. I'm just gonna put like a snapshot reflexes into my bin, take 1 damage. It doesn't kill my Migs, and then my Migs deals 2 damage to them.
So you're saying
like,
you had a plan against force throw and it wasn't a big deal for you? That's
yeah, but
what
it was
you're
also
saying?
me playing force.
Yeah, the plan
Because
against
one of-
force throw was force throw. I think
Play
that's my
force throw.
definition.
Well,
yeah, that,
no,
you
no,
solved it. You said
so this goes into like our game plan though, because the whole thing was like the way that you beat Kylo in our deck was like you had to hold answers in your hand. But if you're force throwing me and I'm force throwing you, you're gonna have no cards in hand, and that's why we also played Pillage, right? Like Pillage gets better when I also run force throw and you're force throwing me because you're gonna double spell at some point. So those are the type of things that we were trying to play into, and I think that if force throw didn't exist, the deck wouldn't exist. But outside of that, like the force throw has like these play patterns where it's like it absolutely blows out your opponent. Like I would say probably 50% of the time. Other times it's just a good card. I've never force thrown my opponent when I like could have just force thrown myself, obviously, to like do what I needed to do to like win a game or something. And I've never had it be bad. Like there's at least with like TDR, like you could whiff, right? Like on TDR, like the high power level of that card was insane. But there was like a whiff component where like sometimes you didn't do anything or you got like a 2-3 and it wasn't that good. Like force throw is always good and it gets exponentially better the more force throws you draw. And that's like one of the parts that are problems with the card. And we draw 2 cards a turn in this game. Like we see a lot of cards in our deck. I drew so many force throws at Worlds. Like I'm also like cycling with Kylo, which also increases the amount of cards I see. So like maybe that there's a little bit of bias there, but like I drew 2 or 3 force throws in a number of games. Like,
and to your point, Ian, like that's it. Like if I ever get targeted by my opponent, like if they force throw me, I know 1 or 2 things. They either have the second force throw or they have no idea what they're doing. I'm winning the game if they have no idea what they're doing anyway. But if they're a good player, here comes the next one. And like I have no hand. They took all my cards anyway. This wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And
I mean like Quinlan's been doing this forever, right? Like since set 3. And it also was a Tarkin Town deck, which is why they get to force throw their opponent, because they don't really care, because they're just going to finish it off with either a Quinlan ping or with Tarkin Town or something.
Yeah.
And they barely even play force units. Like they play Adigalia,
Yeah,
but
now they
they
play
play
more,
like
but back in the day,
Adigalia,
Adi,
Ahsoka, that's it.
Ahsoka, and Quinlan, and then like
Yep.
that's all they need really, right? And it's just always online anyways. It's always good. Um, Force Throw is just like one of those cards where it's like the power level is so high, and I'm not one to like ban things just because it's strong, but it's meta warping in a way that isn't good, I think, for the game in the long term. The only thing that I could see them not banning it for is because rotation is so close, and maybe they think that set 6 will bring something in where like Force Throw isn't good enough anymore, or like now there's just like maybe this new set that we don't know anything about except for like the handful of cards we saw is going to make force throw meta like completely different, right? I don't know, but to me it would be silly to do that. Maybe they want to just get some more data with PQs. I kind of agree with Chrono that like Worlds is all the data you really need because there was 2,000 people there. In order to even get that many games in PQs, you'd probably have to go through the entire PQ schedule, like all 150 of them or whatever it is.
yeah,
And if you look at Worlds, it was 6 of top 8, and then I think it was like more than half of the top 16. Like it was still like 60% of the top 16, like 60% of the top 32, like, and it just goes on from there. And obviously there's other good decks in the format, but it's it's still just like can end people's runs. Like, and that's, you don't want to have a card, I think, and this goes back to like the negative play experience, where because they drew 2 of it and it's such a cheap card that they can play in the same turn, like that changes the way that people play the game. Like I already like you see the comments in YouTube videos and Discords about people just being distraught about the meta, not knowing what to play, not knowing what to do. And obviously like those things will come up to the top and you'll see them, and it'll impact you more cuz like negative things just kind of do that to humans, where like you'll remember that more so than someone being like, "Wow, I just really had this awesome match set against someone." So like maybe it's part of that bias of like I just see all this negative stuff about it, but like I don't know. I don't think that we lose out on a lot by taking it away. That's the thing. Like
The last time, the last time we had suspensions, they suspended cards in a group, right? We got 3 of them. We got a leader, we got TDR, we got DJ, that sort of thing. And I think part of that was them kind of preempting, like, hey, if we do take this away, if we kill Django, we're also going to do DJ because we want to avoid the hellscape that is a control blue green meta. Do you think that if they do get rid of force throw, say we agree, force throw needs to go, it's a problem. Do they also suspend some other cards with it, to kind of preempt what they think the meta could be, or do they have the data to try to figure that out?
so
so I think that there should be. I don't think that they have remotely any data that shows that, and so I wouldn't want them to do that unless one of two things happen. One, they either take their time and do a shit ton of internal testing to figure out what the meta could look like without force throw,
yeah, starting
and then
like
maybe like,
weeks
okay,
ago.
without force throw and some card from blue green control or some card from like Sabine or something, or whatever they think are the cards that they need to hit, unless they do a crap ton of internal testing that proves to them that this card also would need to go because of the repercussions of force throw being gone. Or if they like seek out opinions of competitive players like ourselves and ask us to help them do it because they probably don't have the time frame or like bandwidth to be able to test all of that. Like I would not mind helping them figure that out. Please reach out, FFG, if you want help to fix the format. Like I'll help you. I don't know like how much time they would need, but like
Yeah, well, I mean, we have been reached out to before just for like opinions. I mean, we're like, players are always good at finding problems. They're just awful at finding solutions, right? So like
yeah.
it
Yeah.
it makes sense for devs to be like, "Hey, what do you think about the format right now?" And be like, "Well, I think that this card's a problem and here's why." Like we can give them that information, and we've been asked that before. But what they do is like totally up to them. So personally, I think I would like to see some sort of like group banning like last time. I mean, I'm not talking like 5 cards, but maybe if they do ban force throw, I think that one of the bases have to go as well. Like not because that they're just these broken cards, but because they just warp the format so much in certain ways.
John
Like,
just hates ECL. He's always hated ECL. He doesn't
well,
want
I mean,
anyone to play with
I
it.
like ECL personally. It's just like I'm more of a fan of Data Vault. Like I think Data
Yeah.
Vault's a problem. Like I have been on record for months saying that it's not a problem, but I think that if they ban Force Throw, I think 65 to 70% of the field might just be random Data Vault decks. Like it was kind of trending toward in set 4. And like that kind of format, like sounds awful to me. I love Data Vault. Like if Force Throw's banned, I'm playing Ray Data Vault right now because
You're
like that.
playing Data Vault anyways right now.
Yeah, right. But and like it's great, and like I think that card is just kind of really warping.
I do think though, I do think you ban Force though. You're letting a lot of the aggro back in, and you're also letting decks like Han 1 back in. And like
Han
these
1
are,
being back in though will also check the aggro decks, right? Like Han
but
1's
yeah, but
always
like,
been
but
pretty big.
that's good though,
I don't
right?
know
Like
if to let Han 1 back in though.
you don't think it would let Han 1 back in?
Han 1 was already dying before Force Throw even became an issue. I was one of the main pilots playing the Han 1 green deck, and I'll tell you, that deck was a sinking
Well-
ship every day of set 4 meta.
Yeah,
Well-
I think you're still thinking about set 4 though. Like
Yeah.
I think that there are so many new cards like Anakin unit, Han 1 blue. If
Yeah.
Force Throw didn't exist, I think would be a real contender.
What
Because it
about-
is one of the
and-
best
Kelvin,
decks
right?
to
And
put-
Red, you get Kiani.
Yeah.
The biggest
Yeah.
problem Han Red had was you ran out of cards.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but like in general, Han 1 will come back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
it's
Anakin would be
possibly
busted in Han
capacity.
1 without Force Throw. That's for sure.
Yeah, this just
Always
comes
on.
back, and now is
Always
this and that is an issue. We're in the same cycle. So I support the idea of Force Throw getting banned because it is way too polarizing of a card. That's totally fine. I don't necessarily like Tatta's take earlier of it's an unfun play experience. I think everyone has their own biased view of what they view as an unfun play experience. And this will change every single set after every single meta. Every single deck we've had, every single meta, there's always been some card in it, something that's like, this card, I hate this card. Set 1 Boba Green ECO or Sabina. Steadfast Battalion. This card's broken. And now no one plays anymore. Set 2, Wrecker and Poe, people will complain. Set 3 is TDR and DJ. It'll never end. Will keep doing the same cycle. I don't necessarily, saying we should stop banning, but I don't necessarily think that I don't like these cards, or I don't like this play style, that I want these things changed. I think there has to be a little bit of a suck it up experience. I do agree that Force Throw is a polarizing example. I don't know if you want to go too far past that point, though, is my idea, at least.
Okay. Well, Tyler, you can't disagree with the host, so I'm taking away some points for me.
Okay.
So
He'll never
matter.
win this show.
Points will never matter.
so
I'll
Yeah,
be Jen tier.
we have our own thoughts on the bannings. That was a great discussion. We'll see what the comments say. If they agree or disagree with us, or what. There's probably
We'll
going to
get
be a
the
stream.
we'll get the classic. Just play Medal Ceremony. That'll be
Yeah,
the first
we'll-
comment. That's gonna be the first comment. Everyone loves that one.
Salvage.
Yeah, play the Zero
We'll get
Cost
the
comment.
stream schedule probably later this week or even next week, and so here in a week or two we'll see what they do. So we'll move into the last topic here, which is just off-meta leaders or decks that we think might have space right now. In this world of like blue-green control way over here, and blue-red hero somewhere over here. CJ, I'll start with you. What do you think about you love playing all these off-meta decks. What do you think? Is there anything that might pop up in these PQs or anything?
I'm gonna say, because I think like I've been thinking a lot about this, but like with how the decks are currently constructed, I think Security Complex could make a run again back, like as people are using it to counter Django. If we have a lot of Tarkin down decks like we have right now, like I could go back to my post Security Complex like that. Like I'm thinking about against the Kylo deck, like what do you even do? Like on it, like like you probably
Shields
just,
are good against them.
Yeah,
That's why
like-
we're running like
yeah,
Perilous
you're just
Position
gonna
to kill
take-
secretive stages.
exactly. So like I think those can be decks to look at, like even Kaz Blue, right? Maybe something to that extent, something that gives you some legs there. That's what I would be looking at. Still gonna be hard though if the meta does shift, right? Because like what stinks about those decks and shields is like, yeah, you'll beat up the Tarkentown stuff, but then you play Talzin's Assassin and you play against
Power Up the
Anakin.
Dark Side.
Yeah,
and,
like
yeah.
you just it's not an all encompassing answer. So you definitely need to hit your matchups. But there is room. I'd love to see where we can play Snoke again too. He's actually my favorite leader from the last set, but like,
Yeah.
it's not his time yet.
Yeah. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see, Palp's coming up a little bit. I don't know how off meta that is, but it's going to be a good call, at least in the near term. I'm enjoying Palp Yellow myself. Obviously, we're seeing Palp Blue get rolling a little bit. But, I'm going to go back to what I was saying before about the space aggro. I was going to say Kaz Blue, you got me there, but I will give a shout out to my teammate was the only one to make day 3 with Luke Data Vault, right? Luke Pilot Data Vault. So I think some interesting space aggro, right? We'll stick with that. We'll look at some Luke Data Vault. We'll look at some Kaz. Maybe Von Reg comes back. That was kind of fun when we were all down in Atlanta. There was a few of those going on. My personal pet project is Barris. I'm convinced there's got to be something there, right? I mean, whenever you're resource cheating, you're getting something out for cheaper. That's got to be good, right? And the other card, I'm going to build a Vader sooner, right? I'm going to build hit you with that ambush Vader sooner. So, I'm going to just throw in that. I hope that works out, but probably the space aggro is going to be the niche to run in.
Ian, what do you think?
There's a couple things that I'm looking to try out and test a little bit more now that we like kind of have a bigger picture of the meta. One of them is Chancellor Blue. I think that deck got a lot of really good cards, and if there becomes this control meta, this is a blue yellow vigilance, like you can play Bounty Hunter's Crew in aspect, Bazine in aspect. Like I think you have a good chance at beating these Data Vault decks just by milling them out and like having good control options. And then you also still have like some amount of leeway into the aggro decks. Like typically it was really hard to beat aggro as Chancellor because you didn't have a leader deploy, so you had like no tempo when they would flip. But now you have cards like Lothwolf that kind of forces them to like get your engine rolling, and lets you kind of like do the thing where you get to heal, draw a card, make a 2/2, deal 2. Like doing that multiple times is going to give you enough tempo against those decks. So if you have more cards that basically force them to interact with you, which is nice. So I'm thinking that could be an interesting way of like trying to combat the meta.
There was one,
Another
I
one.
think, in day 3, right? One Palp
Yeah.
3 in
Yep.
day 3, I think. Yeah, I mean that deck had tons of hype at the very beginning. It's kind of died down, but
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
another great Anakin deck too. I mean,
Yeah.
like to me, outside of Force Throw, I think Anakin is the best card in the
I
set.
agree.
Or
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess the best card in the game.
That's not even a
Um,
conversation.
Yeah, and so like I pretty much like kind of only want to play Anakin decks. I also have some nice ones from the Galactic Championship that I might want to play, right? So, like I'm pretty hyped on that. And then something else that I had been thinking about too was the Han4 Tarkintown deck that Matt Norton had piloted to top 8. Like that deck was really cool. I played against him twice, both in I think round 10 and then in top 8. The matchup for Kylo was like really favored, so I didn't really highlight how that deck works. But I had played a lot of Han 4 generally in last set, especially in preparation for Minneapolis. I ended up just switching to Vader because I thought it did the space aggro thing better. And it was also like really bad into Vader because it was in the space aggro war, Vader eked out better. But like the powerful ability to just draw cards with C3PO, Bojack, and keep the aggro train rolling in space, I think is a decent way to fight the meta. I'm not sure if I would go with Tarkintown, but like Han 4 in general as like a way to combat the Force decks where you can dodge them, except for the few cards that you might want to play, like Plo Koon or a Poe or something on the ground, is still a good strategy generally. And I think that they might have a better time at doing that than Vader does, because like against Talzin, you don't have any 1/1s that they can just kill for free. Against the bombing run decks, like you have more X4s. You can dodge to the ground a little bit easier. You can have like a really big blow up turn with the flip of Han 4 onto a big ship, and you can go taller against them too because you have all these pilots, right? So to me, that would be something that I would want to test a little bit more. I would probably just try to play it with double yellow cunning because that was the version I was running before in set 4, and I just want to play Cunning again just to like
Hey,
feel something, you know?
Cunning's still a crazy card, and it's funny that you mentioned Hunt 4 because like I was looking at the Hunt 4 Red myself not that long ago, and I'm looking and I'm like, man, like Ray, like the 5 cost red Ray would be sick in this deck. Then I start reading through the cards and I go to Boshek. I'm like, well, sick. I can just find Rays with Boshek. But the way Boshek's worded is it doesn't work with Ray.
Yep.
And I'm
Dude,
like,
trust me.
I
I
was
tried.
so crushed when I saw
I
that.
know.
I was just like soul crushed. I'm like,
It
wow,
still works with
thanks
3PO,
FFG.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just like that would have been so perfect, and it's
Yep.
it's not perfect. So
It is not perfect.
You know what sucks when you're playing those space decks though? You go to pilot and then your opponent pays 1 resource and throws a Great Dragon at your
it
guys.
kills your leader. Yeah,
Or just plays a confiscate. The answer's already been there.
yeah.
Couldn't get fancy.
Yeah, but that's on your main
Yeah.
deck, Tyler.
Tyler, what do you think
Some
Some
about
people
just
were playing it.
some off
I
meta
got main
leaders?
deck against the speed. Man, if this was a couple months before, Galactics, I love the hell out of Kylo, but now he's too cool for all of this,
Oh, I mean,
fringe decks.
Kylo was never going to be off meta. As soon as he was spoiled, it's like, okay, this guy's the man. Like, he was always going to be in there.
No, but a
Boston's
lot
ruined
of
it for everyone.
I definitely do think that the unusual aggro decks are definitely going to be the key of this off meta. I think the Han for Tarkin Town, this Kazuda Blue. One of my 2 losses at Galactics was Kazuda Blue, and it was miserable to play against as Quinlan. Oh my god. This Lando as well that popped up. I think a lot of these aggro decks are going to be it. I think that you're definitely going to choose one of your axes. You're either going to be playing the best deck, you're playing something that's going to beat that, or you're going to be playing something that beats the beat that's going to beat the best deck. And it's just going to be how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how the meta shakes out. But I think that there are some spots for off meta leaders. I mean, like the Kaz deck sounds interesting. Like Han 4 seems interesting. So we'll see how the meta develops here, especially if they ban force throw. Then it's like a whole wide open world, and we'll always revisit this topic. And
You guys haven't
The meta's
lived
a forward shuffle.
until you cast a trench run. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, CJ played a ton of Kaz Red with trench runs and heroic
Trench run's the best.
sacrifices, and it's like that deck is like obnoxious when it fires, and then it's just
I
a
saw him
pile of
play it.
cards when it doesn't. Yeah, so that's gonna be it for this week. Congrats! It looks like Ian, the Galactic Pizza, has collected his, I believe, second victory to
It is
tie
my second
CJ.
win.
So congrats!
Yay.
So your FaceTime is now. What do you like to tell your fans?
Well, thanks for believing in me. I really put a lot of effort into just this single victory today. So I really appreciate it. So actually, I do have a somewhat announcement, which is I'm going to be starting another podcast with George the Hulk Hudson.
And that's going to be it. Any competing podcasts?
You could take his points. You could take his
I'll
points.
take
Why
the win.
not?
Yeah.
I'll take the dub.
No,
Make
trust me,
points.
it's very, very different. It's gonna be like an Iron Chef style show, so not around the horn, where we like get us, ingredient of the week, which is gonna be some sort of like, spicy card that we have to build around, and then we're gonna compete to try to build the best deck around that card, and it's gonna be like live on YouTube. So
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
we're gonna try to figure it out. There's gonna be a lot of production stuff that we have to figure out first, so it might be a couple weeks, but it is something that we're gonna do. You can check out for the network on YouTube if you want to check out the channel.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll be looking for that. So that's going to be it for this week, episode 8. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.